So Kali Linux is one of the most advanced. Well, it says it's the most advanced penetration testing distribution ever, with period in a single word. Look, it says ever, period. It is the most advanced. And well, here's what it does, right? Every Linux distro is the same, essentially. It's got the Linux kernel. They try to keep things up to date in the Linux kernel. They keep all the OS and OS features up to date. What makes Kali Linux different is that it has a specific set of sort of collated tools that are fantastic for detecting problems and security vulnerabilities in any sort of business that's using technology. So you can use Kali Linux or really any other Linux distro to run penetration testing programs that are installed on Kali Linux. And it's just a nice collection of tools. And they've built this collection in a way that allows them to distribute it as a Linux operating system. So it all comes pre-built for you with all the tools that you'll need for penetration testing. That's actually pretty cool. Obviously, you could use any Linux distro whatsoever and get the same tools. Kali Linux just kind of gives you a nice curated list of all the most important tools. It makes your job easier. You can take any Linux and install pen testing tools on it. Oh, I was just saying that. You can take any Linux and install tools on it, but you have to set up the tools manually and configure them. Kali is optimized to reduce the amount of work, so any professional can just sit down and go. That makes sense. It's ready. All the tools are there for you. All versions of Kali are always close to you no matter where you need it. Oh, okay, yep. You can use on mobile devices, containers, on ARM-based computers and processors, cloud providers, Windows subsystem. Comparing to Docker or any other container systems. You get virtual machines and images everywhere that you need it. Okay, so that's helpful, as you can get that with Ubuntu or other kinds of Linuxes as well. Kali has the same thing, and it comes bundled with all the tools that you need. That's pretty powerful. So you as a developer can then use Kali Linux and point it at other businesses like websites and domains and apps and APIs and run some of those tools against those domains and see if there's any vulnerabilities. Now, typically we're fairly secure, and the majority of those internet businesses will have a fairly secure endpoint. Though you might get lucky, and if you use the tools in Kali Linux, you can then approach the business as a white hat hacker saying, hey, I found a vulnerability, here's the details, here's how you reproduce it, and give me money, basically. And that's what white hat hackers do, is they report vulnerabilities to businesses and say, hey, please receive this notification of security vulnerability. In exchange, a bounty is expected to be paid, and that's something that you can use Kali Linux for. There are a lot of different ways to install Kali Linux and gain access to all the tools that you can use for penetration testing, and they have a couple of recommendations. The recommended options at the top of the screen are the direct installer images, so you can gain access to everything, essentially. You would install it on the host hardware, and you'll be able to run a whole bunch of tools against the other operating systems that are installed on the hardware as well, and you get more use out of it. It's more of a direct use. There's also a virtual machines option, though you don't get full access to everything. Only some limited hardware access and some limited higher systems. You have to have more hardware as well running because you're running 2 operating systems at once. Though they recommend the installer type, I do much prefer the container approach. Just from using a lot of the tools that are built in. Typically, when you're submitting vulnerabilities to businesses, they're going to be internet-based. There'll be a web address endpoint or an API endpoint or a website or a landing page. You can then run those pen testing tools on those URLs, and you can do that through the containers. That's kind of like the approach that I like. I like that one the best. There is a couple of options for mobile as well, and some ARM-based systems. You can install Kali Linux on those as well natively. They do recommend the installer image. You probably do through like a USB key or a boot key and then you can install an image on this sort of like USB stick. Just plug it right into the laptop or the computer, and then it'll give you full access to everything. It's like an instant access key type deal. And you're good to go. So we can access all of Kali Linux's tools and pentest tools by installing a container through Podman, Docker, LXC, WSL, and Windows Linux subsystem through their container. I like Docker. I'm running on a Mac here, so I'll probably be using Docker. The cool thing is they do have a pre-built image ready to go that is really easy. They also give you access over here to the Docker build itself, so you can get all the source code for the Docker build. Just click here, click download the zip. You could download the zip for building the Docker image directly. There are pre-built Docker images ready to go, and they're all up to date. You simply run docker pull Kali Linux / Kali-rolling, and that will give you the most recent Kali Linux distro. And that's what I like. But no, it does say here by default there are none of the tools are installed. So you're only going to pull in the default just foundation of Kali Linux. You will have to run apt update and then install all the packages. So you'll probably want to install everything that you can get your hands on. You want all the tools at your fingertips that Kali Linux provides. I prefer to run as much as I can in Docker. When I'm looking at Kali Linux for running in Docker as my container runtime, then it's pretty straightforward and easy. There's a lot of other options available, right? We can actually, it's kind of cool that they did offer, a build it yourself from the Docker source files, so they make that really easy. But there's also an image on Docker Hub that you can just simply copy and paste. So I did just install that here. The latest version I got up to date. And it pulled down some upgrades. So I did have it previously installed. Though you can simply, all you have to do is copy this docker pull command, and then you will be able to paste that into your terminal window. As long as you've got Docker running, of course, then it will download the Docker image and then make it available for your system. In order to use it, we want to run this Docker command here, docker run interactive, and then it will boot us immediately into Kali Linux. I'm kind of excited. Let's get this going here. So I'll pop that up. And okay, so now I've got a bash shell running and ready to go, and I have access to all the tools essentially. They do say that the Docker image and probably some of the other images as well require you to update and pull down all of the pen testing tools. So you have to run apt update install this command right here. When you update that and you run this, it's going to download and actually install all the tools that you need for running your pen test. So make sure to copy and paste this apt update command and then paste that into your current running Kali container. And I did already install a lot of these packages, so there's probably going to be a few updates here. And it does take a long time. Get ready, sit down. You're gonna have to sit for a while. Even this little update is taking a little while on my system. I think it took around 10 to 20 minutes ish to install all the tools. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of pen testing tools to install. It does look like I've got a fresh install happening here on my side, and it is taking a while. I actually been I had the video paused here for a second just to get this going, but it's only part of the way there. It downloaded a whole bunch of packages, and now it is extracting all the packages, and it is certainly taking its time to do so. Just to let you know, when you run down this path, it's going to take a little while. Just give it some time. Once it's there, you will have everything ready to go, and you can use all these fun tools at your fingertips. This is the list of all tools. Check mark. Is that a check mark? Yes. Oh, I see. All the tools and the sub-tools of the tools. There's so many tools. This is amazing. You get basically every possible industry standard pen test tool is available to you now at your fingertips using Kali Linux. All right, take a look at all these tools. These are pen testing tools that you can use using Kali Linux, which is a distribution that makes it really easy to have all these pen testing tools in one location, all in one Linux distro. It's really powerful from that perspective because they make it super easy for you to have access to all of these tools. It just keeps scrolling and it keeps scrolling. What are these tools? What are in here? So like packet sniffing, port discovery, a vulnerability check, checking systems. You can also do some attacks and hacking by taking over Wi-Fi password discovery. You can do things like that with your laptop. For example, you can go into a public location and start sniffing out passwords and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can do using Kali Linux, and I kind of want to see really cool. Oh, interesting. Okay, there's just a lot of stuff in here. We won't go over all of these tools, though we can see that there's like some scanners, some sniffers, and probably some other tools that you would need just from like an administrivia perspective. They'll want to make sure. So I bet you there's so there's like some PHP. There's probably some Perl, some Python, and other general tools that are installed that you'll need. In addition, there's already these pre-built tools that you can just use to say, attack! Go over there and attack that thing and tell me if there's any vulnerabilities that you find. All right, here's an example. We've got a Wi-Fi Fisher, which lets you find essentially passwords and other vulnerabilities in Wi-Fi networks. And if we take a look here, there's a nice little text video that occurs. You can start this. Let's see, Wi-Fi mounts automated phishing attacks against Wi-Fi networks in order to obtain credentials. Or infect the victim with malware. That's, oh my goodness. Okay, you can do a lot of things. All right, so once you're in, all you have to do is type Wi-Fi Fisher and then some commands to attack specific Wi-Fi endpoints. You can see, okay, so what are we doing? We're going to firmware upgrade, browser connection reset. Oh, these are the type of attacks that you can use. So you pick one of the attacks, and then it starts a fake access point, and then it's gonna sort of coax other devices to jump on your network instead of the actual network, and then you'll establish a secure connection. It's going to give you a password here, I bet. That's what we're gonna find. Yep, we got a victim phone. We got a victim phone right here, and then we've got the MAC address of the victim's phone, and we got the DHCP lease, the IP address of the device. Oh, here we go. The device posts to connect to the Wi-Fi, and we've got their password. Oh, so that's just one of the things you can do with Kali Linux. It's kind of insane that is an option. And yes, these are real attacks. You can really do this. So be careful. You can become a white hat hacker very quickly and gain bounties essentially by pointing attack tools at businesses to find vulnerabilities. You can do that using Kali Linux. Of course, you'll install Kali Linux in a variety of ways, either through Docker or off of Windows subsystem for Linux. There's a lot of different ways to install Kali. You'll gain access to tools like WP Scan, which will scan WordPress websites for vulnerabilities. Essentially you type in WP Scan and then you pass in the URL, and then it will start probing that WordPress website, finding vulnerabilities, and eventually it'll find it looks like it finds plugins, and then it can start scanning those plugins for vulnerabilities. So this is something that you can then use to give to, as a white hat hacker, the business that has the vulnerabilities, explain that these are the vulnerabilities that you've discovered, and request a bounty, essentially. It's ways to make money as a white hat hacker. It's mutually beneficial. The business gets a security scan for free initially, and then you provide a way for them to fix it by giving them instructions. That's actually a pretty quick and easy way to become a white hat hacker, is just to use Kali Linux and all of the tools. There's a lot of tools, by the way. It's not just WordPress. You can see there's just this giant list of tools, and every single tool does something different, and they can find problems in various systems and any kind of vulnerabilities. So this is a nice entryway if you are looking to become a security professional to add into your education and your expertise, is using Kali Linux, because it just comes with everything that you need.